Alrighty, now let's update our NBA power rankings. Here we go. We try to do this every Friday. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do it on Friday the last 2 weeks. We have had to do it on Saturday, but we're planning to return to Friday this week coming up. But we do it on a week stretch out here. So this was our top 10 heading into this week from last Saturday to this Friday. Today's Saturday, but the games haven't been playing. So from last Saturday to this Friday, what has changed in the NBA? This was our top 10. Cavs at 10, Wizards at 9, Jazz at 8, Nets at 7, Nuggets at 6, Clippers at 5, Bulls at 4, 76ers at 3, Suns at 2, and the Warriors at number 1. Alrighty, we are kicking out 2 teams. Is that correct? 2 teams? Yeah, 2 teams out of the top 10. We'll tell you why we're kicking them out of the top 10, and then we'll start from 10 to 1, revealing our new top 10. So we're kicking, and this pains me to do, so I don't want to do it, and we are going to make this team number 11 because I like what they've been doing, but we are going to have to, unfortunately, kick the Cavs out of the top 10. Over the last week, they went 1-3. They beat the Celtics, but then they lost against the Nets, the Warriors, and the Celtics. But this Cavs team, they've been keeping games close without Jared Allen. We all know Colin Sexton is out for the year, but they've been so competitive. They've been keeping games close. That game against the Warriors, they had a nice 13-point lead going into quarter number 4. So I love this Cavs team. They've still got the fight in them, even though overall their roster is lackluster compared to the other great teams in this league. And all the injuries, they've still been keeping it close. So I'm still giving credit to this Cavs team by putting them at number 11 in our power rankings, and I hope that they can return to the top 10 at some point this season. I love the heart and the fight and the grit that this Cavs team is playing with this season. Unfortunately, we do have to move them out of the top 10 for this week. All right, and then also moving out of the top 10 is the Nuggets. This week they went 1-3. They beat the Blazers, but then they lose to the Mavericks, the 76ers, and the Bulls, which are all really good, solid teams in this league. And this Nuggets team, without Jokic and without Michael Porter Jr. and obviously without Jamal Murray, they do have the potential to obviously return to the top 10 and be a great top 10, 5 team in this league. But we need to see those players return first, and we don't have any kind of real big believability that Michael Porter Jr. will be healthy for this season. So Cavs, Nuggets, unfortunately have to move out of the top 10, but that means we get 2 new teams in the top 10, so we could definitely celebrate those teams. But let's start at number 10, work our way up to number 1, and see what these top teams in the NBA are doing this season. Alrighty, so new number 10 team, new team in the top 10 here. We're going to go the Hawks. What a great stretch here. They've won 3-0 this last week. Fantastic. They beat the Bucks, the Magic, and the Celtics, and they were all kind of blowout wins, all at least 10-point wins, and I think 2 were 20-plus point wins here. So Hawks slowly getting back on track here, and we'll see if this Hawks team is legit here. We'll put them at number 10, see what they do this week. They have to move out, we'll move them out, but if they have to move up, and if they're turning a corner, we obviously know that this Hawks team is great. We saw them last year. So far this season, out to a slower start, but a nice 3-0 week here. You got to start somewhere to turn it around, and we'll see if the Hawks are the real deal or not, and see what they do in this week's stretch. But well done for the Hawks. We move them to number 10. Alrighty, number 9 team, we are going to keep the Wizards here at number 9. Went 2-2 this last week. They beat the Magic and the Pelicans. Not the greatest wins. And then they ended up losing to the Hornets and the Heat. And now we know this Heat team is fantastic with Jimmy Butler. And this Hornets team has really been solid this last week. So this Wizards team, they're still good. And are they still top of the Eastern Conference? Or are they number 2 now? What do we got? Oh, no, they dropped all the way down to number 4. How unfortunate with this 2-game losing streak. They were at number 1 for a little bit. So this Wizards team, they've got to start beating the kind of better teams a little bit more consistently. Once again, not ready to take out this Wizards team 100%. We're still getting great games from Bradley Beal. Kyle Kuzma, for the majority, is looking really good this season. So we'll give this Wizards team one more shot, but we have to see them really step it up this week. We'll keep them at number 9. All right, new number 8 team here. And a new team in our power rankings, we've got the Hornets at number 8. What a week. They're on a 5-game winning streak. This last week, they've went 3-0. They beat the Warriors. They beat the Wizards. They beat the Pacers. Some great wins, obviously, with the Warriors and some solid kind of tier 2-ish teams here of beating the Wizards and the Pacers. So, well done for the Hornets. LaMelo Ball looking absolutely fantastic. Gordon Hayward's being that consistent scorer, and then big shout out to Mason Plumlee getting it done at the 5. So this Hornets team, what a week, what a stretch here, and we'll see if they can continue to keep it up, continue to start beating some of these great teams in the league, and if they continue to do so, we will continue to move them up. Welcome back to the top 10 Hornets. Alrighty, number 7, we are going to keep the Nets here at number 7. Over the last week, they went 3-1. They beat the Thunder, the Magic, and the Cavs. Not the greatest teams overall, and then they ended up losing to the Warriors, unfortunately. Steph Curry went manic. But, you've got Kevin Durant, you've got James Harden. That's seeming to be enough for the most part. Yes, they kind of got a little blown out by the Warriors, but we know the Warriors are kind of the best team in the league. So the Nets are making it work without Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant's having a phenomenal season so far. So gosh dang efficient. And then we just saw James Harden last night by his lonesome get it done. And then Patty Mills, what we've been seeing out of him ever since he's kind of been in the starting lineup, helping out tremendously out here. And we'll see if Patty Mills can be the 3 to the big 3 for this Nets team. Nets at number 7. Alrighty, new number 6 team, and we're moving this team back a little bit, one spot. We're moving the Clippers down to number 5 to number 6, and it's not 100% on them. This week they went 2-2. They beat the Timberwolves and the Spurs, ended up losing to the Bulls and the Grizzlies here. But overall, Paul George is looking really, really solid out here. Eric Bledsoe has been a little inconsistent this last week. Same thing with blanking on the name. Same thing with Reggie Jackson, just a little bit lackluster on what we've been seeing them do for this entire season. So we're not moving this team back one spot, not 100% on them just losing. And like we said, Eric Bledsoe. And I just lost this man's name again. Reggie Jackson being a little bit lackluster here. So we'll move them back one spot. But overall, I'm really loving what we're getting from this Clippers team. Not the most talented roster overall. I mean, being compared to, these other teams on this list of all having multiple superstars and having some good benches. This Clippers team, it's really just Paul George kind of leading the charge and then getting some good performances by Eric Bledsoe. And I just forget, why can I not remember this man's name? Reggie Jackson. It's Reggie Jackson. But yeah, just Reggie Jackson and Eric Bledsoe. They've really been very, very solid out here and contributing tremendously for what Paul George has been doing. So those kind of mini big 3 for the Clippers have been very entertaining to watch. They've been competitive all season long. So we're going to move this team back one spot here, but we're still loving what we're getting from the Clippers. So we move the Clippers to number 6. All right, new number 5 team out here, moving this team up here. We've got the Jazz at number 5. This last week, they went 2-1. They beat the 76ers and the Raptors, lost to the Heat, but we know the Heat are the best team, one of the best teams in the league. We'll see that in a second. But overall, this Jazz teams are so gosh dang deep. The addition of having Rudy Gay now, holy moly, just puts them to a new tier. But, obviously Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, obviously a great scorer. Hassan Whiteside off the bench as well, fantastic. Joe Ingles off the bench. Like we said, you could run like a starting 5 just off the bench here for the Jazz. Rudy Gay, Hassan Whiteside, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles. I mean, you've got the bigs, you've got the shooters. I mean, what else do you need on this Jazz bench? And that's just a bench. And then they've got Rudy Gobert, and they got Bogdanovich, and they've got Donovan Mitchell. I mean, this is truly a complete team out here. They're starting to put some nice wins together, and they're just an overall, they're definitely I would say the deepest team in the NBA. We move the Jazz up to number 5. Alrighty, number 4 team, we're going to keep the Bulls here at number 4. A solid week. Went 3-1. They beat the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Nuggets. Ended up losing to the Blazers. But they're looking really good without Vucevic at the 5. They're making it work with just DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. We've seen Lonzo Ball not have the greatest game the last kind of 2-3 games, but they're still coming away with some solid competitive games and winning some games without, kind of, obviously they're big, and then Lonzo Ball just not being the greatest. So Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan putting up multiple 20-plus, 25-plus point nights there consistently. So this Bulls team, they've got, their core 4, their elite 4, but they're working without some of their pieces out there and still getting the job done. So Bulls will stay at 4 here for now. Number 3 team, we did move the 76ers out as well. They are also out, and they're out because no Joel Embiid. They need Joel Embiid, definitely. We still love what they've got besides Joel Embiid, but truly Joel Embiid brings this entire team together, and they win consistently with Joel Embiid on the floor. We still love what Tyrese Maxey's been doing, trying to kind of carry the bulk of the offense without Joel Embiid at the 5, just coming up short here in some wins here, but we do have to move them out, and soon as Joel Embiid comes back from the COVID-19, we'll definitely get this team back in the top 10, no problem. But here we go, new number 3 team, we are going to go the Heat, and yes, they've came from not being in the top 10 to back in the top 10, and the only reason they weren't in the top 10 was because Jimmy Butler was not playing, and Jimmy Butler is really the glue that brings this Heat team all together. They're winning without Tyler Hero as long as Jimmy Butler's on the floor. This last week, they went 4-0 because Jimmy Butler's back. They beat the Jazz, the Thunder, the Pelicans, and the Wizards. Jimmy Butler's playing flawless basketball. Bam Adebayo's being aggressive. We get PJ Tucker being that big beef and enforcer that this team truly relies in. Markieff Morris as well. Tyler Hero, fantastic. Kyle Lowry, he's able to be a true point guard, so Jimmy Butler can just be the pure scorer that really he is. This Heat team, when they're all healthy, which they are really right now, they're almost unstoppable. Yes, unstoppable. Defense, offense, they've got the complete team. Great coach, great facilitators, great energy all around this team. Heat, man, sheesh, they're deep. They've got it covered. Heat at number 3. And then for our number 1 and 2 team, we are keeping them at 1 and 2. Warriors will keep number 1. Suns will keep number 2. Both having great weeks. Obviously, this Suns team has rallied off 11 straight wins. They've started 1 and 3, 0 and 3, whatever it was. Rallied off like 11 straight wins out here, and is looking like what we saw from the Suns last year of making the finals. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. Into the mix, and they were winning games without DeAndre Ayton. That was looking real gosh dang good by the Suns. And then the Warriors, it's Steph Curry, and we just saw Jordan Poole step up with no Steph Curry last night, and they still get the win here. So Suns looking absolutely amazing. Suns rallying off 11 straight wins here to be number 2. This is number 1 and number 2 in the Western Conference out here. So we'll keep them at the respective positions for one more week and see if the Suns can make some ground up to try to reach that number 1 seed, and we'll see if the Warriors flounder at all to go down to number 2. But overall, 2 great teams in the NBA getting it done and winning consistently. You gotta love it. So Suns at 2, Warriors at 1. All right, so this is our top 10 heading into this week of stretch of games. So we'll re-update this on Friday. From today to Friday, we'll see what changes, and we'll reorder our top 10 next Friday. So this is what we've got going on, folks. Hawks at 10, Wizards at 9, Hornets at 8, Nets at 7, Clippers at 6, Jazz at 5, Bulls at 4, Heat at 3, Suns at 2, and the Warriors the best team in the league, folks. Alrighty, that is all the basketball